ma-Africa a matle. Kajeno re le tshwaretse program eno takatsa kamanda discussing all things heritage. Masixoxeni ngenkcubeko yakwaNtu.
Tshetshelesa naiwe tshitanda uzwiphe phala khuwa uchijena gomba kumbala mvenda angavane.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Temudzani. I'm an actor, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a true South African at heart. I grew up in formerly known Venda and Tulambela municipality in Njerere.
Oh, Njerere.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are here for Heritage Day.
Yeah.
So we'll be focusing on the Venda culture in general. So can you please tell us what you understand about the Venda culture? How can you define it?
So as we are celebrating Heritage this month, I feel like us as African people, we are doing injustice to our heritage, and by so doing, I feel we are failing the future generation in a sense that heritage is not something that you outsource or subscribe to. It's something that is alive and it needs to be embraced holistically. That then means that we need to live it on a daily basis. Heritage should be our way of life. It's and it encompasses a lot of things, from our language, our rich history, our culture, the cuisine that we have, and an array of other things that we should look at. That also includes our tourist attraction, that amongst other things reflect the genesis of who we are and where we come from as African people and as Venda people in particular. Does that make sense?
It does. So okay. I did ask you to define like the Venda culture according to your understanding.
Yeah. So the Venda culture is very rich and very diverse, and I like arguing in saying, if there are two cultures that are on the top tier in South Africa, it's the Zulu and the Venda culture, because of their rich character or elements that they infuse and embody. And I take pride in knowing that our people are still rooted on who we are, or who they are, as others would want to argue. And look at how we go about our traditional dances, and what the traditional dances embrace or mean, and when we do those traditional dances, and how we get to use them as an adhesive that keeps us together. So I think we have a very rich heritage, we have a very rich history that we need to take it upon ourselves to inculcate it to our children and preserve it for the future generation. What am I saying? Let's continue.
So if you're telling someone, maybe an 18-year-old, where would you say the Venda people are from, are origin?
So when it comes to the Venda people, the history is very rich and very long, and it dates from way back. The researches that are in place alludes to the fact that we come from the Central Africa, and then we traveled passing all the countries, and then we are very nomadic. There's rich history of us in Congo, places like Zimbabwe, and then they settled in Zimbabwe in a place called Mutapa, and they also moved and then landed in Mapungubwe, now Messina, and that's where their richest history and the longest stay reflects their journey, and how long they stayed there, and how they embarked on trade with people from Asia and other continents.
So can you tell us about King Dimbanika and King Toyendo?
So, Holusha Koroba Venda, they have many rulers who presided over them or their reigns. Nakosi, Womakado, he was known for fighting at night, Makado, and he defeated the Boers, and that is why he was given the name Chilomsiku. And Habana Bahoma Osmanji, Botoyando, Botimbanika, and all these different kings, they had, their own things that they were known for. And these are the people who led the Venda people with so much precision and during difficult times, amongst other things. But in the main, they were fighting to keep the Venda people intact, regardless of, the dialects that were being spoken at the time, regardless of different pockets of the Venda people who were living at the time. And they forged a united front and find it within themselves to unite the people. And of course, there were contestation of, the chieftaincy and the kingship from time to time. But in the main, people were coexisting and were holding their culture and their heritage in a more respectable way.
Respectable way.
Yeah.
Okay, so where does Ngomarungundu get in all that?
So the research that we were taught by our forebears is that Ngomarungundu, it's a sacred drum that the Venda people would hold dearly, and they would move with it from one place to the other. And it is being taught that, when the enemy was approaching them, they will hit the drum and the worst will happen to the enemy. And the latest about Ngomarungundu is that, I don't want to get into politics that will get me arrested, but the latest we hear is that it vanished. The rumor has it that it's in Europe. The rumor has it that it was sold by who, we don't know, and it's a space that we don't want to go into. Yeah.
Okay, is there other instruments that we used back then?
They had artifacts that used to go with Ngomarungundu, like the Mafumo, na Zibato Zahone, those things. And it's rather unfortunate that our people tend to embrace the Western culture, including Western religions, and abdicated to who they are and their own things. And those things, when you listen to them, they were very meaningful, and they had superpowers that sustained them for centuries and centuries. But we are here now, and only when you reflect back, you realize that no, it looks like we have lost something good, embracing something foreign that we don't know or realize the good thereof.
So moving from history,
yeah.
What are some of the stereotypes that you hear today about Venda people? Today, what are some of them?
I've heard a lot,
Yeah.
about the stereotypes that is casted upon my people.
Yeah.
A lot of them from being accused of witchcraft, being accused of them being stingy, but Venda men are not stingy. Them being accused of Shumara Venda, meaning they work in Joburg and they don't waste money here, that they deposit money back home or they upgrade home. And I think everyone should strive to do that. That one I support and rally behind it.
Yeah.
And that they love women, But when I cast my eyes into the community that we come from, and I see that, everybody loves women. Everyone, you go to every culture and you try to scrutinize, you hear that, there's isitembu everywhere. And that then means that it's not only exempted for the Venda people. But, these are the stereotypes that people just, populate. That does not necessarily mean that it's a true reflection of who that particular grouping of people are or live by.
It's a lot about modernizing. Do you think we should modernize, or what do you think about us modernizing our cultures to accommodate modern day practices?
Well, when it comes to the issue of modernization, there's no way we cannot evolve as people, as mankind. But we should be very careful in what we're trying to modernize and incorporate into our being or our daily lives. And by so doing, we'll be able to find valuable things, and then we incorporate them into, our daily lives and upgrade ourselves. But at the same time, there are those things that we need to preserve and not tamper with. I mean, there are dogmas of our society or of our lives that we need not to tamper with. And there's something that has happened recently. I hear that, men can take their wife's surname. I mean, what nonsense is that, to say the least? It can't be that I take my woman's surname and take pride in that. What kind of legacy am I going to leave behind? If that woman divorces me, what's going to happen to me? And also, what am I inculcating upon my children, especially, boy children? So it's such things that we need to treat carefully and analyze them and asking ourselves as to what is this and what are the ramifications of embracing this going forward. Therefore, we need to take, sober decisions around such things.
I was actually putting that for the last question about the surname. It was my last question. But no, that's fine. So those are current affairs of the kingship battle between Tony Ramabhurana and the princess. The princess Masindi Mpepu. What's your take on that?
Well, I'm a subject to the Mpepu Ramabhurana dynasty. Therefore, it's not my place to partake in that. But I would say the family must, sober up and make a decision as to who do they want, to be the leader of the family and the leader of the entire Venda population. And by so doing, they will bring stability not only to the family, but to the Venda people as well. It can't be that we remain headless for the longest time. It can't be that we are subjected to the battles of the royal family, and then those things impact us in a manner way that we find ourselves wiggling with, a plethora of questions that we cannot answer. So the sooner the royal house makes that decision, the better, and it will alleviate a lot of, questions and the discrepancies that our people find themselves compounded with out of that.
Do you even think people or youngsters who are in high school even know about this battle?
No, I think it's an issue that is out there in the public domain through the mainstream media and social media as well. And I like how our people, especially the young ones, interact around the subject matter. And the unfortunate part is when there is no one who gives clear directives and narrative around it. It creates more confusion as opposed to outlining things.
So how does this bill affect the Venda nation?
Look, as people, every grouping of people needs to be led, and to be led in a befitting way. Every group needs where they can go to for audience. And above all, culture unites people. And a culture that is led accordingly flourishes. And it's easier to uphold and sustain that cultural elements, or those cultural elements, when you are being led accordingly. And it can't be that at this time and age we find ourselves in that era where it's just if you get what I mean, then there's no cohesion. Yeah.
Okay, so where exactly do you see the Venda heritage in 40 years?
It's a difficult question to answer, considering where we are and the things that we are valuing and the things that we are looking down upon that are so close to who we are as the Venda people. So when I cast my eyes into the horizon, I struggle to see our culture intact in the future. That then means that the current generation, us, need to take it upon ourselves to embrace our heritage in a meaningful way, to embrace our heritage and live it, to be able to pass it on to our children. And our children will embrace it better if they see us living it, rather than us talking about it without doing, those things that will rub off carbon.
Do you even see like someone who's 18 years now in like wearing a shadow? And seeing the mostly shadow and tsindi.
Zwithu zvinopa mashedo na tsindi ndi zwithu zvine zvavorini, they are very important and they are very symbolic to our culture. It's just unfortunate that people would abandon that and go embrace the same thing but of a different culture, and find value in doing that. And as somebody who has traveled the world, I think what other countries are selling is nothing but their history, their culture, and their heritage, including the food that they eat. And when it comes to us back home here in South Africa, we are failing to monetize around those things. We only monetize on tourist attraction places, but in the main, we have neglected our culture, we have neglected our heritage, we have neglected our food, and as a result, we don't have much to sell other than the tourist attraction, your Kruger National Park, your Cape Town, and so on and so on. But other countries, you go to a place and then they're selling literally their culture. And there's so much value in that. And I think the sooner we sober up as people, before we start blaming the government, the better, because we'll find, valuable things that we can trade with.
Yeah. Talking about monetization, where do you think if I don't know Venda, should go to learn more about Venda culture, Venda heritage?
Well, there are places that you can go and learn about our culture and heritage. You go back home to Venda, you go to a place like the Dike, where the focus is on tourism, on culture, and they will be able to impart a few things about the language and the culture and the heritage of the Venda people. You go to the University of Venda, they'll be able to do that. You go to the tourist places that we have in Venda, like the Mahawoni, you'll find a tour guide who will assist you on that front. You go to Mapungu Beer Heritage Site, they will be able to share some of, the things that you are asking about. Yeah. And we can befriend a Venda person and then, they teach you the lingo.
Yeah. So talking to an 18-year-old or someone younger, what advice would you give them on how to preserve their languages, on how to show other people who maybe don't know things like Venda culture, Venda heritage?
If I were to talk to somebody who is a teenager today, I would say to the person that who you are, it's very important. Who you are carries your identity. Who you are locates you geographically. Therefore, embrace your culture, embrace your heritage, and embrace who you are without being apologetic. Because that's what you will be able to share and pass on to your future generation.
Before we close, I want to come back to that man taking a woman's surname. Please share your thoughts on that.
So, as African people, we need not to look down at ourselves. we need to cast our eyes into our society and scrutinize some of the things that are going wrong and ask ourselves pertinent questions as to how can I remedy this? How do I embrace this? And by so doing, you will be affirming who you are as a person. You will be affirming the leadership in you as a person. You will be affirming the sobriety that you should be as a person. And again, this issue of men taking their spouse or wife's surnames, I think it's just off, and it needs to be revisited, and revisited with questions that would ask as to what's the agenda with this. It can't be that at this time and age we continually attack an African man and strip him off of his identity and his well-being. And again, what agenda does this seek to realize? And it's gonna be like this until when? And in addition to that, what's next? So I think the questions that African men in the diaspora are asking themselves is, where are the men in Africa and what are they doing back home? And if we fail to answer that, clearly, we're being eroded day in and day out. And the question is, we're gonna do this until when? And I think the time has come for us to stand up and stand our ground and say, this is not who we are, therefore we're not going to embrace this. This is not what we're keen to embrace and adopt going forward. Therefore we reject it with the strongest possible terms that it deserves.
Okay, do you see someone from Hampe Puramabulana like taking a woman's surname?
No, there's no such. I don't think there's any sober man from any royal dynasty who would want to embrace, that element of absorbing another woman's surname or his woman's surname to be direct. I think it's no. Maybe I'm too rural, guys. I don't know. But no, it's just putting me off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying now a traditional man would actually judge another man for taking a woman's surname. And what exactly would you say to that man?
Sometimes we must just reserve our comments because we're in a public platform. But I would condemn and judge that person, honestly. And that's my pure opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think we have everything that we need, unless there's something else that you might say.
No. There isn't much that I can share. But I would like to say to my fellow brothers and sisters out there that the future looks fertile, provided we do the right things now. But as African people, let's embrace the future and embrace our heritage.